In today's episode of the Arkham Chronicle, we're going to be taking a look at the round sequence. If you've never played before, you can follow along with us in the Learn to Play guide on page 9. If you've got a couple of games under your belt, you can follow along in the rules reference. Each core set comes with 2 summary cards, so give one to each player. If you're finding that text a little too small, page 23 of the rules reference has a much bigger, clearer guide. Each round is divided into 4 parts. Work your way through each part in order. The first part is the Mythos Phase. But in the first turn of every game, you skip the Mythos Phase, so that's what we're going to do. The first thing the players do is talk amongst themselves and decide which of the investigators is going to take the first turn. You don't have to decide the order for all of the investigators at once, just do it on a turn-by-turn basis. Every investigator gets 3 actions on their turn. The game doesn't provide you with a means of tracking these actions, so you might want to use some tokens or counters. On the back of your round sequence card, there's an action summary card which lists all the actions you can take. Once your investigator has finished their turn, flip their mini card over to the black and white side. That lets everybody know that they've acted. The players then discuss who is going to take the second turn. Once they've finished, flip over their mini card as well. Once all the players have acted, the investigation phase is over. The first part of the enemy phase is to check which enemies have the hunter keyword. Each such enemy moves once to a connecting location in the direction of the nearest investigator. If a hunter enemy is exhausted, then it won't move. If any enemy is ready at a location with 1 or more investigators, it will immediately engage, so put it in the investigator's threat area. If there's more than 1 investigator at the location, then the lead investigator will pick who that enemy engages with, unless that enemy has the prey keyword. Some example of prey targets will be the lowest remaining health, the lowest fight value, or the fewest cards in hand. After all the enemies in play have moved, each enemy engaged with an investigator makes an attack. Simply deal the indicated amount of damage and horror to the investigator. After an enemy has attacked, turn it through 90 degrees to the exhausted position to let you know that it has attacked. Once all the enemies that are able to have attacked and have been exhausted, that's the end of the enemy phase. Any cards or effects that reference the end of the enemy phase take effect now. The Upkeep Phase consists of 4 mandatory steps. The first step is to flip over the investigator's mini cards, letting you know they're ready to act next turn. The next step is to ready all of the exhausted cards, turn them back through 90 degrees. This is all the player cards and any exhausted encounter or monster cards. Starting with the lead investigator and then going clockwise around the table, every player draws the top card of their deck. Once all the players have gained and dealt with any cards that they've drawn, everyone gains 1 resource. The final step of the Upkeep Phase is to count how many cards in your hand. If you have more than 8 cards, choose and discard cards until you reach exactly 8 cards in your hand. You can't discard any more. This is the only point in the game where your hand size is checked. At any other time, you can have more than 8 cards without having to discard them. Put the excess cards face up in your discard pile. This is the end of the Upkeep Phase. If there's a card or ability which says something happens at the end of the Upkeep Phase, make sure you trigger it now. That's also the end of the round. If there's something which lasts until the end of the round, it expires now, and if there's something which triggers at the end of the round, make sure you activate it now. Then we go all the way back to the top to the Mythos Phase. There are 3 simple but deadly steps to the Mythos Phase. Step number 1 is to place 1 doom on the agenda. These cards here are the agenda cards. You can see it lets you know at the top right there. The agenda cards are what your antagonists, what your bad guys are doing. So take one of these doom tokens, pop it on there, and that's it. The next step is to check the doom threshold. This means you count up all the doom counters that are in play on the agenda card, on any enemy cards, and on any player cards as well. If the number of these tokens in play is equal to this number, or if it's greater than this number, the agenda advances. And remember, when your player cards are discarded, all the doom tokens go away, and when your monsters are killed, all of their doom tokens go away. If the agenda does advance, remove all of the doom tokens from all of the cards in play. Then what you do is flip over the agenda card. There'll be some italic text which will continue the story, and there will be some regular text which will give you a set of instructions of what to do next. Remove it from play and then read the next part of the story which is on the next agenda card. It'll also give you a new threshold number. This step of the Mythos phase, step number 2, is the only time you check the Doom tokens in play against the threshold number. At other points in the game, it doesn't matter if your Doom is exceeding the threshold number, nothing will happen. Except when a card such as this specifically tells you that its effect can advance the agenda. The final part of the Mythos phase is to draw the encounter cards. Starting with the lead investigator and proceeding clockwise, that is in turn order, each player takes the top card of the Mythos deck and reveals it. If you draw an enemy, check for the spawn keyword. If it's present, it will tell you where to place that enemy. Drawing this card, you'd spawn it in the attic, even if that location hadn't yet been revealed. If a spawn instruction tells you to place that enemy at a location whose card is not in play, that enemy goes straight to the encounter discard pile. If it doesn't have the spawn keyword, then put it in play in your threat area, engaged with you. You being the person who just drew the card. If it isn't an enemy card, it will be a treachery card, and that will have a revelation ability which you must perform as soon as you draw the card. It may ask you to place the card somewhere. It might add Doom to the current agenda, or it could be a test which you have to perform. Once you've passed any test and fully resolved the card, it goes to the encounter discard pile. There are 2 keywords you need to watch out for when drawing encounter cards. The first word is peril. If an encounter card has the word peril, you can't reveal what it says to the other players, and you can't accept assistance from other players. Which means if it's a test, the other investigators at your location can't commit skill cards to help you. If it's a decision that needs to be made, you can't get any advice or reveal the options for that decision. You must deal with it solely by yourself. The next keyword to be aware of is surge. If the encounter card you draw has the keyword surge, that means after you fully resolve that card, you have to draw an additional encounter card and resolve that as well. That is the end of the Mythos phase. Now move to the investigation phase again.